Hey bestie, and welcome back to the Plobcast. As always, just a quick reminder that this podcast is not for anyone under the age of 18. It is not for little ears. Also, if you're eating, I will give some heads up as usual before I say some really gross things, but there's going to be a lot of gross follower submissions. So I apologize for missing all of last week. I ended up with cdiff. So if you are lucky enough to not know what that is, like you're not in the medical field or you've never had it, I'm so jealous of you. I will fully admit I am jealous of you, especially because so if you don't know, C. diff is mostly people with gastro issues like Crohn's or colitis they will get it, or elderly. And that's where my problem came in, is a lot of elderly or immune compromised people get it. I have Crohn's disease. I also have an autoimmune, so I have Crohn's with more than one autoimmune issue. And thank you, United States Army, for the extra autoimmune issues. But I went to my doctor's office, which is mostly elderly people, because the kind of injuries I got in the Army, based on my spine and my hips and stuff, mostly old people face, because they just get them when they're older. But no, I have, the Army was like, let's speed up the process. So the doctor's office I went to, mostly elderly, and I went in and I smelled it. And if you know, C. diff has a very distinct smell. And I smelled it and I was like, nope, not using this bathroom. But apparently where I touched the door handle, even though I washed my hands afterwards and stuff, it was too late. I had already gotten it. And because I have had a bowel resectioning, I just vomit like the exorcism. And the reason I'm explaining this to you is I'm not trying to TMI you, because if you don't know, with C. diff, typically you're just like running to the bathroom like you've had 500 pounds of Taco Bell, but that's not when you've had bowel resectioning, or you have severe Crohn's, or you've had part of your intestines cut out. And I've had a lot of my intestines cut out. I vomit instead. And the reason I am telling you guys this is I have had a lot of people who are like, why didn't you do follower stories all this week? Like, I haven't seen any follower stories on TikTok. It's because I couldn't handle reading them. I couldn't. I weighed myself. I lost 7 pounds this week just from being so sick. And I started reading some of these follower stories. Now I'm going to be reading them today. But I started reading some of these follower stories that were submitted to me. And I did post one on TikTok this morning. But I would go to read them and I would just be like, nope, I can't. I'm already throwing up like the exorcism. I cannot add these stories to it. There's not enough promethazine in the frickin' world. This is your last chance to stop eating before I go over this first story. And this is the one that I told on TikTok too. But it's gross. It's gross. That's the nicest way to say it, is gross. So this follower submission was sent in by a current GameStop employee who has actually worked at GameStop for several years now. And she's worked at GameStop. She's worked at Target. She works more than one job. And she says she worked a few other different retail places, like over the years, picking up extra hours and everything. Oh, God. With all the experience she's had, all the crazy coworkers and stuff she's had, this one is the one that she will never forget. So this guy worked there seasonally, and she has got, first of all, why is it always the seasonal workers that be the worst? And before y'all come for me, I was a seasonal worker. Like, I literally would work at GameStop every single year for seasonal work to pick up extra. Well, I mean, it wasn't really extra money because I'd just be spending it at GameStop for Christmas gifts. But I would work there for the discount, to be honest. She said of all of the people, this is the one she will never forget. So the seasonal worker comes in, and for the first couple months, it's not that he's doing a bad job at working. Like, the actual work, he's being okay. He does act very timid and shy towards women. He wasn't an asshole about it. Like, he wouldn't be like, oh, like, femmes out, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to talk to that Stacy or anything like that. That's not how he would approach it. He just seemed to be very uncomfortable with women. It reminds me of Raj from, like, Big Bang Theory, the way she described it. Like, he struggled to speak to women, which in some cases can be super sweet and adoring. Like, there are some women who will eat that shit up. The problem is, we're going to get into it. So he had this compulsion that he would do. So he would always wear a hoodie, always a hoodie or a jacket. And she said he did smell normal. Like, he wasn't smelling bad or anything like that. But she thought it was weird that he would always wear a hoodie or jacket even when it was hot in there. Because if you've ever worked seasonal, sometimes, or if you worked retail or anything, sometimes when it gets really cold outside, they'll turn the heat on too much. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm dying. Just like in the summer, if you're working in summer, they blast the AC so cold that you're cold. It's like, what the hell? Why is it so hard for y'all to have some temperature control? So she'd be like, yeah, there's sometimes I'd even see him sweating and stuff, and he would just always have that. He would not take a hoodie or a jacket off. He had multiple hoodies and jackets, and you would never see him without it. And what he would do is, while he was working, every few minutes you would notice he would put his like shirt sleeve up, well, sorry, hoodie sleeve up to like the wrist of his hand, put it up to his nose, and he would smell his hoodie. She noticed whenever things would get super busy, he would do it more too. Like he would get more frantic with it and be doing it a lot more often. And she was like, okay, maybe it's like a calming thing for him. Maybe it's just like the scent of his laundry soap, which, okay, I get, because I love everything to smell good. I'm very particular about scents, very particular about scent association and stuff. I've used it to calm down and stuff before, smelling something that smells good. And that's what she thought. She was like, okay, it's a little weird, but maybe it's like his laundry soap calms him or whatever. Well, she ends up having this day where they got super freaking busy because it starts being rushed. It's getting closer to the holidays, and things got a little crazy at work. Oh, an important side note is she did 2 separate times before this happened. She also caught him sniffing his backpack in the break room on his lunch. Like, she would walk in the back room. What? It's not really a break room. To be clear, GameStop doesn't have like an actual break room. It's just like usually a back little storage room. People will take the breaks in there. But she went back there, and she would catch him like sniffing something in his backpack, and she's like, okay, that's fucking weird, but okay. Maybe it's the scent thing again. Maybe he's got a candle in there or something, right? Because she didn't actually smell any odor on him. Like, there wasn't a bad smell coming from him. So she assumed, oh, maybe he's got like a candle or something in there. Like, that's why. It's just a scent association thing. Well, one day they have this really busy day because it's getting close to holidays. Like I said, they're having this busy day, and things are getting a little chaotic, and the floor ends up being a mess. So after everything calms down, her and him go out to the floor to start cleaning up the mess, putting games back. Because if you don't know, I feel like everybody knows this by now, but just in case you don't, of course I know people don't, because sometimes they'll still steal the cases. The cases on the floor don't have any games in them. They're for display. So like when you bring up the game, unless it's the very last game, we give you one that's, that's in the drawer behind there locked up, that has the actual game in it, and then we have to go restock those cases onto the floor. So they're getting all of this done, and because it's so chaotic, he is like repeatedly, like almost every minute or two now doing this. And amongst all of this, like, he's very clearly stressed out. Amongst all of this mess, he ends up bending over, and something falls out of his hoodie sleeve. Y'all, nothing prepared me for this next sentence in this fucking follower submission. It was a Ziploc bag with freaking used panties in it with a skid mark. She said the skid mark was very clear and defined. It was like the first thing she noticed. He put it in a Ziploc bag for that fresh seal, I guess. And it had skid marked panties in it. He ends up confessing to another coworker. So he did not talk to her about it. He like panicked because he struggles to talk to women. But one of the male coworkers ends up having a conversation with him. Turns out he has like a compulsion, and he buys so many used panties off of online, puts them in Ziploc bags, and he sniffs them every 4 to 5 minutes. Like, it is a to the point, because he says that he likes it. And that he has extra. He always keeps extra in his backpack. That's why she probably caught him smelling in the back. That way he would always have them. Here's my thing. Hold on. I'm sorry. Here's my thing. I don't have a problem with people who buy dirty underwear. I will fully admit, in college, I've sold my dirty underwear before. I'm not gonna fucking sit here and lie and pretend like I haven't. I have. When I was in college, I did. I didn't have people paying for my college, mommy, dad. I was fucking broke. Look, I moved out at 15. I graduated high school, moved out, got emancipated, like, all that. It's not like you see on Young Sheldon, like, where they just throw money at you. No, like, yes, I get, scholarships and stuff, but that doesn't cover other living expenses. So I've done some crazy side hustles. My thing is, one, the skid mark. Why the fuck was there a skid mark in it? Also, somebody commented on this video on TikTok, and they were, like, making a joke about, like, they were like, oh, how much for your dirty panties? And they were joking. They said, just kidding. But then somebody else DM'd me when I responded. I was like, oh, in this economy, it depends on how much you're willing to pay. Somebody DM'd me and asked, and I was like, I don't know about those skid mark panties. If you want to buy my regular I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I can't do no fucking skid mark panties, because that's what gets me. Why is there a skid mark in it? Like, seriously, I've never seen that. Also, I know how much these cost, because I've been on the site before to pay, I will fully admit, when I was in college, But I've never seen that. It's usually you see the people being like, oh, I wear them for 2 or 3 days or whatever, and that's what they want, or go work out in them or whatever. But the skid mark, what the fuck? Why? And it's not just that. It's the fact that he was doing this in public. That's my thing. That is my biggest thing, is the fact that he was doing this every few minutes in public, obsessively. Because if you want to be doing that in your, in your private life, that's your business, okay? Whatever you want to do. But I also keep thinking about how much money it would have cost. Like, there's no world where somebody with just a GameStop job. She did say he didn't pick up that much hours, so that means he's got to have inheritance, parents paying for something, loans or something, because these things are not cheap. They average, I think it's like $20 to $70 a pair, depending. I've seen it, it's sometimes even more. I don't know, it's been a while since I had that hustle back in college, so like, I don't know the current going rate for dirty drawers are. I do know specialties cost extra, so like that skid mark probably costs, oh my god. I can't stop thinking about the fucking skid mark, man, because I've never... What do you mean? What do you mean it had a skid mark? Do they all have skid marks? Is another question I have. Is like, does he buy just dirty drawers? Like, so that kind of costs some money. And the fact that he says he like keeps backups and everything. Is this man taking out loans to buy dirty panties? Like, I don't understand, because there's no fucking world where a GameStop worker on that barely above minimum wage could afford to buy a bunch of dirty panties. But also, why are you fucking sniffing them in public, sir? Man, what the fuck? Because he talked about, like, apparently he told the manager, he was like, yeah, I keep extras in case their scent dies down. So we have to make the assumption that he is making sure he always has a fresh pair, like, which means he's got to be buying them regularly. I don't know how long scents of dirty panties work. I mean, he was putting them in a Ziploc bag to seal them. So, I mean, I guess maybe they last a little. I don't fucking know. I just have so many questions, man, because what the fuck? You need to seek professional help, sir. You need to seek professional help if you are sniffing panties every 3 to 5 minutes. You can't function without them. That's an actual compulsion. That's not just a regular kink or fetish now. That is a compulsion that you can't function without sniffing dirty drawers every few minutes that you hide in your fucking hoodie. Okay, we gotta move on to the next story, because I just keep sitting here trying to calculate the freaking costs and how much this man has probably spent over the years. Like, how long has he had this compulsion? I can't keep sitting here and trying to think of how much it cost him for these shitty drawers over the years, because, like, what the fuck? So the next story that was sent in to me, it doesn't get any better, because it was a video. It was a video, and it was more dirty drawers. I'm just going, fucking Christ, why? I don't know what it was with... So these were all sent, like, it takes me 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes a month to get caught up on follower submissions. So once somebody sends me something, it's usually 2 to 3 weeks to a month before I actually get it posted. I apologize. I am trying to work to make that a quicker process. But I got sent this video, and I open it up, and it is just immediately someone is in the laundry room of the barracks. So if you don't know, if you've never been in the military, you've never been in the barracks, or if you're not a barracks bunny, because barracks bunnies are very familiar with it. So there's like a shared laundry room, right? I even know guys who like are married, or girls too, that are married and live off base, which is a smart thing to do. And what they'll do is they'll like go do their laundry on base in the barracks when they're on staff duty, and that way they can save money. Which, okay, I don't fucking blame you. I'll admit I've done that before too. Because I'm already gonna be sitting on staff duty for 24 hours, might as well. Sorry, CQ. CQ is in the barracks, my bad. Staff duty is usually your battalion, brigade, whatever. That's not the point. So, I guess a bunch of soldiers had came into this shared laundry room, and they see this pile of dirty laundry on top of a washer. And it is just the nastiest drawers you have ever seen. And I'm like, oh my god. And some people were like, oh, maybe it's field panties. Okay, so if you don't know, in the field. Now, to be clear, I know there are some people who get very confused by this, because they had like the most pogue job ever. So their field day is like going to the motor pool and setting up a tent for like 8 hours and then getting to come home at night. Okay, yeah, congratulations. You're lucky. I will fully admit I'm jealous of y'all motherfuckers, because our field time was you would go out for 30 to 45 days, and there was no showers. There was no half time. There wasn't even a fucking actual proper working porta-john. And if they did put porta-johns out there, it was not going to be fucking put together for very long. And so there's certain cleanliness things that, you know, you're not getting to shower for 30, 45 days. And there's things that you would typically do to prevent getting super nasty. I mean, you're going to smell no matter what. Which is why I always get grossed out when you see guys come in from the field and they will go to the store. And I don't mean like, oh, they needed to get gas or something, or oh, they've been in the field so they don't have, you know, something simple like a drink or something. I'm talking about the motherfuckers who go out to like the actual regular shopping. And I'm like, sir, what the fuck are you doing? Get what you need from the fucking shopette or wherever, little small store, get what you need and fucking go home and bathe before you go do your entire Costco shopping trip, please. But these motherfuckers would literally, I've seen so many of them who would not do any kind of bathing or anything like that. Here's the thing is, you know you're going to be out there for a while. You might not know the exact number of days, especially a lot of times they'll put it at like 28 or 29 so they don't have to pay you SEP leave. But then other times, if they've already passed the SEP leave, they're going to keep you out there for a bit. Either way, the point is there are things that you can do. People will bring out dude wipes, baby wipes. They will bring out, you know, waterless shampoo, different soaps and stuff. They bring out extra deodorant. You are told in advance. It's not like they go, oh, you showed up to work today. Now you're going to go to the field in like 20 minutes. Like, no, you get a little bit of a warning. You have time to pack extra underwear. You have time to pack extra clothes. Like, yes, you're not going to have bajillions of uniforms, but you can bring enough underwear and shit, man. Underwear, socks, clean socks, all of. They even like usually give you a brief. Like there's a safety brief almost every single time where they mention to make sure you fucking pack clean drawers and socks. So it would have been one thing to see these underwear and see that it was like streaks from, you know, maybe she got a UTI or something, because that's very common. A lot of female soldiers come back from the field with UTIs because it's just not sanitary out there and there's nothing they can do about it. They're trying their best, they're doing whatever they can, but sometimes, you know, bacteria and stuff, just like if you're unaware with UTIs, a lot of people think you have to be like super gross or something. Did you know that just having wrapped, you know, just doing the dirty, that's why they tell you to pee after, can give you a UTI even if you're clean. Bacteria, sweat, you know, all that. So it would have been different if that's what the case was here. Like if there was just like a little bit of discoloration. Like, no, there was straight up shit. And I don't mean like maybe there was a little shart or something. Like maybe she ran out a little bit. No, it was full on dirty shit streaks that were like, oh my god, it was so bad. You could tell by the coloration that this was multiple incidents. She just was not changing her drawers out there. This girl definitely went out to the field and did not fucking change her drawers. And to be clear, this is not just women. I've seen plenty of men do it. I've literally watched one guy, I remember he smelled so fucking bad. And we were towards the end of we were like 2 days before we were going back from the field. And he was making jokes about how he always had to cut his underwear off at the end of the field. We're like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And he's like, oh yeah, like I don't change. I just wear the same pair of drawers out there as the entire 30, 45 days that we're out here. And then I just have to cut off my underwear afterward. I'm sorry. What the fuck? And the craziest part, he was like telling us, he was like, yeah, nobody ever noticed. Oh, trust me, we noticed. We all noticed the fucking smell, dude. We just didn't know exactly what it was you were doing that caused it so bad. Turns out it was just not the fact. If you have to cut your fucking underwear off, what the fuck do you mean? That's so fucking nasty. Like if you got some sweat stains or dirt or something like that, that's understandable. You're out there 30, 45 days. You don't have an option to shower. It's not like certain plobs who choose not to shower, you know, that's different. But you had the option to bring extra underwear. You had the option to change your dirty ass drawers. The fuck do you mean you just decided, nope? And when we talked to him about it, he was like, oh, well, you know, I just want to save room in my rucksack for extra snacks and stuff while I'm out here. Bitch, I would rather be a little hungry than be walking around wearing the same underwear. They do not take up that much space, okay? Underwear does not take up that much fucking space in your rucksack. I'm telling you, there is a reason why GameStops are on military bases, because they know that they are the freaking army. Army, Marines, Coast Guard, Air Force, all of them, Space Force now. There's fucking sections of plobs in them. They know exactly what they're doing with their marketing. They know their demographic. Because some of these motherfuckers will legitimately get out of the field, and the first thing that this is another place they'll go, not just like the Costco thing. I have watched these motherfuckers before. Oh my, one in particular, I remember he'd always get out of the field and he would just immediately go to the PX that had the GameStop and would go to get new games, because he'd be like, oh yeah, since I haven't spent any money this month, since I've been stuck in the field, then I get to go get new games, because he was so bad with money management. That was like the only time he could get new games, because he would spend it all on freaking alcohol and Red Bulls and shit. The strip club too. So that was like the one time he was basically forced into saving up money for the games. Okay, let's tell a less disturbing, so you guys can eat for a minute. Speaking of food, we got to talk about the funny videos on TikTok with the MREs. So if you're unaware, there is it's like a weird epidemic thing happening on TikTok, and I'm not gonna lie, I might do it. Girl, I was sitting there thinking about how much money I could make for the domestic violence shelter if I could just bullshit my way through some of these videos. Because someone has taken... So if you go to like a surplus shop around town, you can usually get this stuff super fucking cheap. But apparently, I don't know if it's preppers, the people that think the rapture is coming, what's going on there. But they have started, like, some of these surplus stores are starting to sell these like old worn down rucksacks, filling them with MREs, because we've already talked about the MRE thing, like where there's MREs being sold on TikTok Shop. But someone has now taken like old digital, like the Digi era, okay, digitals. If you don't know, that's really old. I was in when they had started to phase it out, and they're taking the old Digi assault bags that are like been sitting on a shelf for a decade, and they're selling them for like $150, and then just putting like a case of MREs in them, and they're like, oh, it's a doomsday pepper thing. Sometimes it's not even a ruck, sometimes it's just an assault bag. I'm like, damn, maybe I need to do that. Like, I'm not going to sell them, but like make a video for the shop, because the commissions, like, imagine how much stuff I could get with it. I could like fix so much stuff. We could fix so much stuff at the domestic violence shelter with the amount of donations I could get from those, because the amount of people who are buying that shit up. And here's the thing is, I have an old rucksack, an assault bag, and MRE, so I wouldn't even have to buy the product, because I already have the shit. Because if you don't know, when you go to the field, what we were talking about, a lot of the people, and I talked about this last time they're talking about selling MREs, is a lot of times with the field stuff, right after the field, they'll like just throw out a shit ton of cases, and they'll tell you, they're like, oh, just take them home or just throw them out. Either way, we ain't got room back at the unit for it, so it's got to either go in the trash or give it to somebody. And that's how with a lot of soldiers end up with boxes of them. And also other random shit. I've talked about like the waste that the military does, and it sucks because of how much good stuff they'll throw out when they're like moving stuff around or something. They just trash stuff. They tell soldiers, just take it home or throw it away, take your pick, but we're not taking it to the new place. But there are so many people all over my FYP right now who are plugging that shop and selling it for commish. You about to see me with a video of it, y'all. Don't judge me. People are gonna buy it anyways, so yep, might as well. It reminds me of that video that the guy we talked about a while back, that dad who was like, I bought MRE so I don't have to meal prep for my kids for a week. I'm like, bro, your kids are stomach's about to be fucked up. This should be considered abuse. And I get some people want it for prepping stuff, you know, if there's a hurricane or whatever, they want to have some, you know, MREs or whatever. It's because you could, you know, they have little heater packs and all of that stuff in it. And I'm not saying it's not a good resource. That's why we keep them. It's the fact that people are using them as like actual meal prep, and they're freaking like, oh yeah, I'm using these so I don't have to. First of all, if you're doing this for meal prep for workout, you are about to gain so much weight. That is not for weight loss. It's not for you to be lazy. It is for emergencies. These meals were not made for you to like just eat regularly. I remember years ago they had this whole thing where big creators were trying MREs for the first time on camera, and it was like a whole joke because they were getting grossed out by them. And now we're out here selling them. So, I mean, people are gonna buy them anyways. So I'm just saying, you know, if you see me making a cringy ass video, just mind your business, please. Speaking of ridiculous prepping, oh, sorry, my mic went away for a second there. Speaking of ridiculous prepping, can we just talk about the rapture for a second? I don't know how I landed on this side of TikTok. So I don't identify as Christian anymore, even though my beliefs have never changed. I do follow Jesus. I worship God. I don't like the term Christian because of people like this, okay? Because when people say Christian now, this is what they think of. There are people who have decided that the rapture is going to happen on Tuesday. Yep, they've decided it's going to happen September 23rd. And they are doing insane things like selling their cars. They are getting rid of everything. They are setting up structures within their homes for the people that are going to be left behind. I kind of want to make a video being like, oh, you know, if you really do believe you're going to be raptured on Tuesday, you know, maybe you should donate all that money to the shelter, to veterans in crisis. You know, like there's the DV shelter, the homeless shelter. There's lots of places you could put that money, you know, since you're just freaking throwing it away because you think the Lord is coming back on Tuesday. That is such a weird... Why every time the rapture stuff happens, like starts, it's like the most random time. You know, I think God is looking down and laughing at people right now, being like, what in the world were you thinking? I don't think he would be like cruel enough to laugh. I just think he's probably sitting there like, what is going on? Why do we do this rapture stuff every couple of years? Where did I go wrong that y'all keep doing this? But, you know, just in case, I mean, I know, like, there's probably no way any of my followers believe this, but just in case one of my followers believes this, just a reminder that the link for the domestic violence shelter Amazon wish list is in my bio. So, you know, since you're not going to need that money anyways because you're going to be raptured on Tuesday, I think God would be I know Jesus would be very impressed with, you know, you doing his work by donating that before you got sucked into the air. I'm just saying, you know, if you really think you're going to be raptured, there's options of things you could spend your final days here doing to make the earth better. Because, you know, in heaven there's not any need for these things. So just an option. Now that I've given you guys a break to be able to eat and discuss some just weird shit, let's get back into the plobs, because what the fuck are these VR videos y'all sent me? You know what? Y'all sent it to me, so I'm gonna make everybody else suffer through hearing this. I'm gonna play you a short clip that was sent to me of somebody who was wandering on VR chat and ran into a couple that, I'm just gonna play you the clip, okay? I'm gonna play you the clip, and then we're gonna discuss it, because what the fuck?
Just make sure no one walks in.
Quick pause. She says make sure nobody walks in. You are in a VR game. What the fuck do you... Like, you can just leave... Like, if it is a private conversation, why are you not just having a private conversation? Like, in a private server or something? Why is this happening in a public server? Like I said, I don't know a lot about VR. I refuse to get VR. Look, I've had a lot of people who are like, please try it so you can do plob stories. I don't know if I can handle it. But I just want to say, you could just go to a private area. But they're in a public chat doing this. Let's continue.
Hopefully not.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you more.
I love you so much more.
For context, too, since you guys can't see this, because it's an audio podcast, they are doing some weird shit. They're like in their avatars and they're like walking in and out of each other the entire time. So let's continue though.
Definitely love you more. I don't know what you're talking about.
Also, the person laughing is not me; it's the person who's watching them.
Crying earlier, so I believe it. Yo.
What that? Yo, fine ass.
Just wait till reality.
Oh, sex is gonna be so good.
Yeah, it will.
What? Kiss.
I want you to keep... So, for those of you who are like, what the fuck is that kissing noise? Their avatars are making out, which I want you to really think about that, because they are making the noises, which means they are making out with their VR headset. That is how this is working. Lord, I don't even know how this video has managed to stay up, because somebody's also reposted it, and because it's bad. It's bad. They are doing some weird shit in their avatars, and this is just a random public VR chat thing. Like, somebody's just trying to walk by. The guy you're hearing laughing is the one recording.
Yo, I'm crying.
All of these noises, all these kissing noises you're hearing, is them making out with their headset.
You're drowning me.
Y'all, what the fuck did I do to y'all? You keep sending me this shit! Here's the thing, is there is nothing wrong with long distance dating. It's actually statistically proven that couples who are long distance and then later end up in person do have less of a divorce, less of a breakup rate. Like, they stay together longer because you're going to find somebody more compatible long distance wise if you start long distance with the goal of eventually being in person. You are more compatible because you're not limiting yourself to locals. But there's limits. There's limits, buddy. There's one thing to have sexting or phone sex, but to go into a public space where anybody, including minors, could just like play into this game and you are fucking in your avatar, like doing this weird, they're like walking in and out of each other's avatars and making those noises. Making those noises is the thing that gets me the most, because that means y'all are making out with your headsets. Somebody, like, are you kissing your hand? Because the headsets don't go over your mouth. So, like, what the fuck are you doing that you are making these damn noises on VR chat? Once again, why did you not go somewhere private? The fact that she's like, oh, make sure nobody walks in. Okay, then why are you in a public space? Whew, let me take a deep breath before we get into this story. So we got a nice, the timing on this was perfect, because I knew I was going to cover the MRE stuff this week, and I was going to cover the rapture shit that started out of nowhere, and the doomsday preppers and everything, and the plobs. So getting this story, I will admit I held on to this one like a little bit longer, because I was like, I know there's going to be a perfect time, and this is the perfect time for this story that was submitted. Oh my gosh, this plob sums up all of the people we have discussed, but all together somehow. So this follower submission, she had went to a convention. She was actually working for the local game store at the time. It was a little local card shop, and she was working a booth there. And there was this guy that hung around the booth a lot at the con. Like, he spent most of his time in the vendor hall, but he kept hanging around that booth. And they end up talking, and he seems nice. He just seems a little bit shy. And she's like, you know what? Let me give it a chance. You know, I really want somebody that's into Magic the Gathering and stuff. Like, first red flag. Why? Well, okay, I love Magic the Gathering, but this is why so many people don't play it anymore, because fucking Christ, there's that subgroup in Magic the Gathering. It makes all of us look bad. I've literally dated somebody who was a semi-pro player, and he was normal. A little geeky, a little struggle to speak to women, but like, other than that, normal. Honestly, those guys are like the best ones to date, because you ain't gotta worry about them cheating, because they can't have a conversation with another woman to cheat. Anyways, so she said he kept hanging around the con. He didn't, other than like the shyness, he didn't give off any weird vibes. Now, he was dressed up as a Call of Duty character. He dressed up as a Call of Duty character the first time. I can't remember I think she said it was like Ghost or something. And then the next day he did Rainbow Six, and then the final day he just wore regular clothes. Now, these seem like normal cosplays. These also seem like, okay, he's changing cosplay every day. That's a good sign. He's, got decent hygiene. So we've talked about those cosplayers that will literally wear the same out. It's so gross. But apparently that was a sign of what was to come, because the reason he was so obsessed with these cosplays, is because he was an extreme prepper. And here's the thing, is I've met extreme preppers that aren't too crazy. So, like, I think the behavior of extreme prepping, and I have no problem with regular prepping, that's a good idea. Natural disasters and things like that happen. I lived on the Georgia, Florida coast for a while there. I've lived in the Appalachians. Like, prepping, can be useful. And there are some people that are extreme preppers, but they don't spill it into their daily life. They'll just have a huge amount of stockpiling. I have a family member that's like that. They live in the Appalachians on a hill and stuff. They do have a very, very nice home. It's like a $500,000 house. But their basement, like it's got all these rooms and stuff downstairs in the basement too, but like they have stuff down there, right? I mean, she is crazy, but she's not crazy for the prepping thing. That's not what the crazy part about her is. But here's the thing, is there are some people that it spills into their personal life, and it shows very, very quickly. And that is exactly what ended up happening. So after the con, they agreed to go on this date, and why is always, it's like, so many of these stories, they'll send them in, and they're like, oh, the first date was always so great, and then afterwards, it was so fucking insane. And that's what happened. They end up going out to a local restaurant, they have dinner, things are fine. He mentions that, so he doesn't like go full prep or anything like that, no full doomsday, but he's like, oh, have you ever do you stockpile or anything like that? And, just in case something happens. And he's kind of making it seem like he means like weather, because she does live in an area that has tornadoes. So she's thinking, oh, this is like tornado. Oh, you're being responsible and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I got a little bit of stuff and whatnot. She said his eyes lit up in that moment. And it seemed like he was trying to test his limits, like test to see how far he could go with this, like to see if she was a safe person to tell. And everything is good. And then on the next date, he decided to open the full bag of worms. So they decided to meet at his house before going on their second date. They apparently had planned a movie or something. They decided to hang out first before they went to the theater. Spoiler alert, they did not end up going to that movie because of what happened next. So he's sitting there talking to her on his couch, and he's like, I just feel so close to you. I feel like you're a person I can trust. I want to tell you something. And she's like, oh, what is it? He's like, I got to show you something. He's like, I really want to show you. I don't trust a lot of people about this because I'm afraid they're gonna come steal it from me or something if something happens, they're gonna break into my house and take it. And she starts getting the ick, oh god, what the fuck. And he takes her down to her basement. First of all, girl, why the fuck would you go in his basement? I even told her this. I was like, girl, I'm not trying to be mean, but if a man invites you, especially with all the red flags, if he invites you on on a second date and he's trying to take you into the basement already, no, run, don't go down there. So first she comes into this little room, and it's got his Call of Duty and his Rainbow Six gear and all of this stuff, and she's like, oh, these are your cosplays. So she's feeling relieved now, because she thinks oh, he's just showing off his cosplay collection and stuff. And then he explains that he does those cosplays because he already has this stuff for practical use. And she's like, what? He then shows her to another room in the basement that is full of prepper stuff. But it's not just normal prepper stuff. It is not just normal prepper stuff. He's got all the prepping stuff, but then there's a corner with shelves. And these shelves have gallons, the gallon bottles. Guess what was in these gallon bottles? Piss! He then he goes into this whole end of the world theory, right? Which normal preppers will do the end of the world stuff, and they'll prep food and stuff. And she's like, what the fuck? Why has this man got piss? What the fuck is piss gonna do for you? He ends up she said it was 11 minutes straight. She said it felt like hours, but it was a good 11 to 12 minutes. Goes into this entire thing about how he had found out that piss, human piss, if stored properly and burped properly and stuff over time and stuff, he could use it to protect himself from zombies during the apocalypse. And that's why he'd been collecting his own piss for years. This was a shit ton of piss, jugs and jugs and jugs and jugs. And he talks about how anytime he was home alone, because apparently he had a roommate at one point, and at this point he no longer had a roommate. He told her some story about how the roommate was not wanting to pay bills or something, but I have a feeling that's not the reason. I have a feeling this guy ran because of this crazy nut he was living with. But yeah, he had talked about how when he was living alone, he would sneak to the pee, and then whenever he became got to the point where he was only living alone, he didn't have a roommate anymore, he started doing it every single time. If he was at home and he had to pee, he would piss in these bottles. Sorry, gallon jugs, whatever. Piss in these fucking containers. And how he would come down and burp them every couple of... If you don't know what that means, it's how do I explain burping really simple? The fumes from it have to be burped so that it doesn't explode, basically. That's how you make moonshine and wine and all kinds of stuff. There's all different things you can make at home. Please don't fucking do this, but I'm just saying that's what they means by burping it. Which means this man was not only regularly pissing in bottles because he thought it was going to protect him from the zombie apocalypse. I still don't quite understand that full thing, but he was regularly coming down and burping the bottles of piss just like it was a regular afternoon, just a regular chore for the day, watering your plants, except for it was the water in his pants being put in fucking jugs. Jesus Christ. I have so many questions that I also don't want fucking answered. Imagine going on a date and it's going so normal, and it's always, I swear, it's always the second date. So many of these stories, these women or men too, because men have talked about female plobs, where it'll be a normal first date and then their second date is just absolute mayhem. And then people wonder why our birth rate is dying. This is part of it. I mean, yeah, the cost of living and all that stuff is part of it too, but like this is part of it too. When this is your options to repopulate with. I know that dating is hard, y'all, but we gotta start running when we see these red flags, because the way going into that basement could have turned real fucking bad. Please stop. Please stop ignoring red flags. Speaking of red flags, I had an eye-opening moment earlier this week. I was in a conversation with somebody, and I don't want to give too much detail because then y'all figure out who it was real quickly. I know y'all like little fucking FBI agents, man. Like, the FBI and CIA need to start hiring some of you guys. Instead of having to like have a fancy degree, there should be a test where you just have to show your skills, because some of y'all better than investigators. But I had a conversation with somebody, and I will admit I ignored a red flag. There was a conversation we had. Some of my friends are going to be able to still figure this one out, because I had messaged them and I was like, oh my gosh, I had to cut the conversation at this point, because I was like, what the fuck just came out of this person's mouth? We had a conversation afterwards, and they tried to downplay it and be like, oh no. But then, oh Lord, people have been showing some true colors the last week. A lot of y'all know this, like with people coming out of the woodwork and suddenly expressing opinions online. Except for some of those opinions are not just opinions, they are horrific things. I had someone, I had this all clicking moment. So what ended up happening is I had this conversation, and there was a point where I had felt bad for this person, because I thought that I didn't realize they were plob. That's the thing of it. I felt bad because they like came to me with a couple of different things, a couple of different issues, and talking about people treating them badly. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad. You seem so nice. I don't know why people would do that to you, blah, blah. And then they said something the other day that made me freeze. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, no. I'm starting to realize you're the problem. You are definitely the problem. I feel like you've left out some context. You said people were treating you like trash for no reason, and now I'm starting to realize there's probably a fucking reason because of what just came out of your mouth. I remember staring at that message for like 10 minutes and being like, oh, shit. Yeah, I feel like they got comfortable and the true colors should have come out, and I'm like, oh, no, you are a fucking plob. I feel like the irony is this person and me will joke about like plob stories and stuff, and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's so gross, I don't understand how people could do that. And I'm like, you are one though. You just made that very clear in one sentence that you are definitely one. Like, I think it's a projection thing. I'm like, buddy, I think the reason you like my plob stories so much is because you're convincing yourself that you're not as bad as them because you shower, but your personality still smells like shit. Also, random, but I just remembered this because of another conversation I was having during all of that. This is your reminder to please not message me about my mutuals. So I had another incident where people were like, oh, I know you're mutuals with this person, blah, blah, blah. Can you talk? This is why I don't like telling people who my mutuals are. Especially because I got 2 new, very large creator mutuals this week. One's verified, both are in the millions and very well known. And I had like shared with a close friend. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this person knew I existed. I'm so excited. I followed their content for a while. She's super hilarious. Great person. And then somebody else overheard it and it immediately became a thing. But I've also had that with like, I've had people who will mutual me to try to build rapport with my larger mutuals. Here's the thing is I can't force somebody to be like, oh, well, I'm mutuals with you, so you have to be friends with it. Like, you know what I mean? There was a point a few years ago, there was this whole like trend where you showed off your favorite mutuals, and I showed a mixture of like people that I talked to that I'm mutuals with, and some of them were small, some of them were massive creators. And I had people literally messaging me, mutual me back, all of a sudden people I'd followed for a while and stuff that were just trying to get in contact with those people. And I'm like, no, if you want to have contact with those people, then you have a conversation with those people. Do not follow me just because you're interested in somebody I'm mutuals with. It also becomes super awkward because then there's always those people who do not understand that some creators have personas online. Now, I'm a very blunt and honest person. How you see me online is how you're gonna meet me in real life. But there are some people that have personas that they do, especially if there's somebody who does stories or skits or whatever. And yes, there are those assholes who will do that as like a persona of fake being nice, but like I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people who have like a character basically they do to tell their stories and to have that voice and like a set audience, right? There's also people who will misconstrue just in general. They'll think because they agree with one thing they're going to agree with something else or whatever. And I have had people who will come to me and be like, oh, you're mutuals with this person. I bet you should send them this thing of mine, and or this or that, or they would love this. And it's so awkward to be like, hey, so they're actually not going to be interested in that at all. I know them, and they may agree with you on this one topic, but as they've said many times, and you apparently weren't listening, they're very split on things, and they actually don't agree with the bullshit that you're saying right now. So there's no point in me sending that. It's also weird for me to be like, hey, my buddy wants you to watch this thing that I already know you're not going to fucking agree with just because, yeah. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. If you find out that I am mutual with someone or I'm friends with somebody that you want to meet, message them. Try to interact with them. Have conversations with them. Not me, because I'm not going to be any help there. And it's just really, it just puts me in a really awkward position. I also want to be clear that this is not just me. Please don't do this to anybody. It is super uncomfortable. Well, I do have one more PSA that I would like to give for all the medical staff and also just people in general that listen. This is important, like life PSA safety tip. Don't worry, I'm going to tell a small funny story at the end so we don't end on a like sad PSA note, because I'm over here just being like, oh, don't be mean to creators and shit. No, I'm about to give an even sadder PSA. I will not give this person this personal information for obvious reasons. That will become obvious here in a second. But please, for the love of God, if you are in a medical crisis, do not go to a private hospital. Oh, especially if you're in Fort Hood, I'm just going to straight up say it. Do not go to Advent on Clear Creek. So if you do not know, content warning for medical abuse and stuff, I had my own bad experiences there. So Advent used to be Metroplex. And that hospital was great. And then they got bought out. And they are a private religious institution that puts religious beliefs before medical care. They have had several fines for this. They have had several malpractice suits. And the other day, they almost cost somebody their life. Here's the thing, is as somebody who has very strong faith, but is also in the medical field, I will never ever condone somebody putting their if you cannot separate your faith and medical care, then you do not belong in the medical field. So I had my own experience a couple years ago when I was drugged and assaulted. With some of you know about this. This was even recorded by my mom, who was there. Them making fun. I do apologize if you just heard random fighting in the background. My kids were fighting over a toy and ran up here because even though their dad is literally right downstairs with them. If you're a parent, you know how it is. I'm sorry. And I don't know how to cut that out, and I am already almost to the end. So let's just jump back in. I've already taken care of the problem. I paused it, dealt with it. But I was drugged and assaulted a couple years ago, and it happened at a Pride event that I was invited to by a friend. She was setting up shop there, and she was like, oh, just come. And I was like, oh, I'll do a little shopping and everything. Yeah, no. That was not actually a friend. She set me up. It was a whole thing. I'm not going to get into that. But when I was taken, because I almost passed away, I had to be given Narcan because they had, that's another reason why I'm so big on Narcan, is I've never used in my life, but there are sickos out there who, because fentanyl is cheaper and easier to get than, the regular date rape drugs like GHB and stuff. Some of them have started to use that, and they could slip it in food, water, all kinds of things. But during the, when they took me to the ER, they immediately took me to there first because it was closer. And I, half conscious, and my mother fully conscious when she arrived recording this, got to hear doctors make fun of how they said it was my fault for going to a faggot event. That's what they called it. And that it was God trying to teach me a lesson. Luckily, the cops were not fond of that. They ended up taking me to Scott and White to get a real rape kit. After they had already tampered with evidence, there was a whole investigation because the hospital did tamper with evidence by using, I'm not going to get into how they did that, but with wipes and things, and not listening when I was telling them that I had been assaulted. And I spoke about that before, but that is not the incident we're talking about today. They are back to their bullshit. I don't think they ever stopped. But someone recently went to them after attempting to take their own life. And not only was this their conduct completely unprofessional, they also did something very, very highly illegal that could have cost this person their life. I will not get into too much detail of all the ways that they took, but one of the ways that they had attempted to take their life was downing a bottle of pills. Also, I just want to say, don't worry, this person is now at a treatment. So I took them myself. They were at a treatment facility. But when this happened, and when they were going over everything, the amount of rage that I was filled in this moment. They went into that facility after an attempt their friend had taken them in. Not only did they not hold them or do any kind of psych eval, even though it was disclosed, it was very obvious, there was no way of saying, there's no way of getting around this, that they had made an attempt. They pumped their stomach and then sent them back home with another bottle of pills. Now, I obviously cannot force this person to press charges, file a lawsuit or anything. I have encouraged them to, and I have called the board myself as soon as they said that. I called Dr. P and I was like, we need to, I'm not going to give, all details, but we need to make a report and let know that there needs to be an investigation under their care, because the law says they were supposed to hold them. They were supposed to hold them, but it's not just the fact that they illegally did not do a psych eval or hold them after an attempt, but it's also the fact that they, and in a way, it's a weird thing, because in a way it was a good thing that they didn't hold them so they could go to a facility that's actually going to help them and not do this, it was God's will shit. But it's the fact that seeing her there with a freaking bottle of pills in her hand afterwards was like, I wanted to burn down the hospital. I wanted to lose my mind. I didn't want to be clear, I'm not threatening the lives of people. I'm saying I wanted to get everybody out and then burn it down so they can never fucking work there again. Because it is absolutely horrific. Illegal, unprofessional, you should not be in the fucking medical field. These incidents happened 2 years apart, and the fact that it's proving that this has still become a problem. I've seen so many horror stories about this hospital too, about how they are very extremely, so you got to keep in mind, we also have a cult here in town, and that's not just me saying that. There are news articles of how the FBI has raided this cult before. There's entire website warning people about the cult here. I've talked about this before. I can do a separate video on TikTok if anybody wants a full breakdown, or a YouTube video of me talking about that cult, the Colleen cult, that is also in Hinesville, Georgia. They also have a location there. Those are the two big ones. There's multiple locations. I have accidentally went to the cult church. A lot of y'all know that story of me not knowing, because I was just looking for a new church, and these people come up to you on Fort Hood and they're like, oh yeah, find it. Oh nope, that ended up being an actual cult. And then later I found out when the FBI raid started. I was like, oh, so I'm not crazy, that was a cult. But a lot of the staff members at this hospital have been spotted at that cult church, and there is so much medical neglect. I genuinely don't know how they're still standing. I know because they're privatized that there's some different there's different things they can get away with, but there's still medical standards, which is why I tell people, if you're in a new area or you're in an emergency situation, if you're not going to bleed to death in 2 seconds if you go 5 minutes up the road, please never go to a privatized hospital. Because I'm not saying every single privatized hospital is like this and bad, but there are some that believe because they're privatized they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're very pushy with their religious beliefs. There's been multiple reports about that hospital of people talking about how they will even ask husbands, the wife will be fully conscious, need surgery or whatever. And I'm not just talking about reproductive stuff either. I've gotten to that before about having the doctor ask, being like, I need to see your marriage certificate and proof from your husband to give you birth control. Bitch, the fuck? My husband was like, what the hell do you mean? What the fuck? It's not my body. I already got 2 kids. The last one tried to fucking kill me on the way out. I was legally dead for 8 minutes. Give me some fucking birth control, bitch. The only reason my husband hasn't got snipped is because the army is really, they will pay for it, but it's if there's stuff going on, they don't want to approve it because they want you to wait because they know you're going to have time off for it is the thing. So they want you to schedule it at a time that there's nothing going on. There's always something going on in my husband's unit. But several women have reported that they've needed some sort of procedure or something. Even one girl talked about it was kidney stones, and they went and asked the husband if it was okay, if they were okay with their wife getting a procedure. Why the fuck does his opinion matter? It is one thing if a patient is incapacitated or not able to consent or whatever, in a state of mind that they can't make medical choices for themselves. But these are women that are just sitting there that fully capable, but you're asking the man because you want his permission. Is this a third world country? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like I said, it's not all private hospitals, but there are some. And then people wonder why there's so many of us who, I've never questioned my faith in God. But I have questioned men quite a bit. Question people all the time. That's why I don't like calling myself a Christian, even though my beliefs have never changed. My faith in God and Jesus never changes. My faith in people that is the problem. Heck, I got so much crap from somebody because I veiled during prayer, and I had somebody, and I didn't know, like, there's not a lot of veiled Christians in my area, and it was actually a pagan and a Muslim woman who both helped me learn how to like wear my veil, like get it pinned and stuff, because yes, they veil differently, but they are able to help with it because they have experience. And people were mad at me for that. Like, bro, what the fuck? Anyways, we're gonna end this on a funny little story that happened earlier this week. That way we're not ending on a sad note of PSAs. So I almost ended my husband's life on accident. So earlier this week, so my mom, if you don't know, my mom lives beside my son's school. I've talked about that before, and sometimes like I'll pop in or something if I only have a few minutes, I don't have time to get back to my house across town or whatever the case may be. But there was some bad traffic, so I ended up taking the way that passes her house, because usually I'm coming from the other direction. Well, the way that's passing her house, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this dark SUV in my mom's driveway, and it's parked way back, like where the trees and stuff are, right? She does not keep her yard very well, so there's just like really ragged tree, and I could not see it. And keep in mind, my husband just got a new vehicle, and it is a dark blue SUV. It looked black, and it's early in the morning, but it's covered by the tree stump, so I can't really see whose vehicle this is. He doesn't have any identifying markers on his vehicle. It just looks like a dark SUV. I cannot tell what kind or anything. And as I'm driving past, I notice the door's not closed all the way either. So out of the corner of my eye, I see this dark SUV. I know my mom's not home. My mom dates some very fucking questionable men. She's still fucking with the guy who messed up my vehicle, and several other questionable men at the same time, along with the fact that she literally... You gotta keep in mind, my mother is the ultimate pick-me. When the man who molested me as a child got out of prison, she added him back on Facebook. So, like, that's just to tell you the level of pick-me that woman is. So she has some questionable men in her life. So the idea of somebody robbing her is not an out there concept. So I see this. I also see that there's no lights. So the car, there's this dark SUV hidden, like it's trying to hide itself. There's no lights on, but I can see the door is not fully closed. So I pull my van up in front of the driveway, because she has like a chain fence. So I pulled in front of the driveway, so there was no way for this person to get out. And I get out, and I can see the doors open, but like I still have my key in my pocket just in case. But I sneak up to the door, and I've got my handgun with me too, because I had like taken it out of the case and everything. I'd put the clip in. I'm thinking somebody is robbing my mom's house, and then I bust open the door real quick, and it's my husband, who was getting dressed. He had went to my mom's house is closer to his unit than our house, and he had went home to change, so he needed to go change, and he had went to my mom's house to change real quick to go back. But he didn't turn on any of the lights or anything, and he parked way far back. I was like, why the fuck would you literally look like a criminal. The lights aren't on, with the door, the way the door was, the way you parked real far back. Boy, you about got your bell rung. Like, I had my phone on my camera in hand too. Like, I had the key on my pinky with the phone on my, got the camera ready to go, hand placed on the fire. Like, oh my God. Like, I ended up going back, pulling the fire in my pocket, putting it locked to back it up and stuff. But I kept thinking, like, boy, what the fuck? I married a himbo, okay? He doesn't always make the smartest choices. Another just example of my husband being a himbo is shortly after we got married, I remember he'd have a couple little hairs on his back, right? Like, he'd have a couple random hairs. He doesn't have back hair, but he would have like 4 or 5 like random hairs on his back, and I would pluck them, right? Because I'm very like particular, because autism, right? And I would pluck them, and he'd be like, oh yeah, they fall off my head and they implant into my back. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And finally, after a while, we ended up having this conversation, and I realized he genuinely thought that these random hairs that were, sprouting from the pores in his back, he thought because he didn't have regular back hair, he just had a couple of hairs, that they were just hairs falling from his head, and they somehow reattached into his pore in his back. And I had to explain to him, no, honey, you just have random back hairs. Like, people joke that he sounds like Hank Hill and Boomhauer had a child, but sometimes he he be acting like a redneck too, in the himbo way. Like he definitely has that farmer's mentality sometimes. Because I grew up spending the summers on the farm. I've got a lot of farmers in my family, and they could be very stubborn. And like there was one night we went to the ER, and he was having chest pains, and we walk up to this chick, the nurse working the register. Why did I say register? The nurse working the front desk, and she's doing check-ins, and she goes, "How are you today?" Like this man is holding his severe chest pain. He goes, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" Sir, what the fuck? And to be like, no, he's not. Because now she's looking at us like, why the fuck are you here then? And be like, no, he is actually injured. He's having chest pains. Like, he has high blood pressure. He's on this medication, blah, blah, blah. It's so ironic because he's also like a man cold guy. If you know, you know. The guy is so dramatic over the man colds and stuff. And I'm like, buddy, I need you to pick a fucking side sometimes because I don't know what's about to happen half the time. So, yeah, this is a reminder, if you marry himbo, make sure you don't accidentally ring their bell, because they did something stupid like change it at your mom's house, and don't fucking pay attention. Don't think it through and act like a damn criminal. Freaking parking in the back and everything. Well, that is the end of this episode. I have messaged to try to interview this weekend the furry that we were going to talk about plobs and stuff on that side of fandom. I was hoping to actually do it this weekend, but then, cdiff. But I hope everybody has a great week. Remember to shower, drink water. Coffee and energy drinks do not count as water. I know I'm the world's biggest hypocrite because I live off Dr. Pepper. But make sure you take care of yourself. And as always, I'm making no with unchangeable accessories for their pleasure.